So welcome to the first class recorded on communication for social change. What I'm going to do today is a bit of a revision, necessarily introducing you to some of the types of communication that are engaged in communication for social development. As we know, we have many forms of communication. We have internal communication where it is within an organization, and it could be horizontal, vertical, top down, down up, where giving instructions, giving directions, if it's top down, and horizontal collaboration with peer to peer in working as a team. But also, there is what we call external communication, communication that an institution uh, goes on to communicate with outsiders, stakeholders, where you inform your stakeholders of what is going on about your organization. So it's a platform external to share information with those without the organization, while internal communication is within the organization. But also there is also personal communication, where individuals communicate on a personal level, which is not done organizational. Um, but there is also um, communication that is enhanced by the use of multimedia and technology, use of broadcasting, print, and social media networks. So we are going to see where what is the model communication style for communication for development. So we actually try to say this communication for development is multifaceted, because it is communication to transformation. Communication to bring transformation is communication to change the status quo of the beneficiaries, and it's communication that not only the organization does, but as we define communication for development, that it is an institution that brings on board the beneficiaries also. So you are not doing things for others, but you are working with those beneficiaries so that they can also bring change in their own lives. So therefore, that's why communication for development is also communication for change, or communication for social change. That is um, somehow addressing the issues of social injustice. So the social change, there are very many key words that are important. Key, that's why key, important. And the key words for this transformation or change or development, is purposeful, deliberate intervention to influence change. And how does that change look like through the use of communication? It is change that moves somebody from point A to point B. You have a vision of a livelihood that is uh, permissible, a livelihood that is a right for those beneficiaries. So you want to move them from deprived state into that livelihood that accords them their human dignity. So that is transformation. You are emancipating them from abject poverty, from abject dependency. You are emancipating them from whatever they are deprived of. In some way, you are empowering them. So when you bring them on board in Communication for Development, you are empowering them. You are giving them the tools and the resources to change their own lives. As they become a participant, it means that even if yourself you withdraw, then they are going to be in a position to better their lives, because you have given them the tool and the resources that they need to move from point A to point B. That is empowerment. Okay? You are eradicating something, the social injustice, so that they can also benefit and profit and share in the global resources. You are liberating them, freeing them, or you are restoring their dignity. You are restoring their humanness. You are redeeming them. Okay? You are a savior redeeming them, but they are participant in that. Okay? So what are you eradicating? What are you redeeming them from? From social decay, the injustice that prevails in the world, in the economics, in the politics, in the social structure, where you have apartheid, you have racism, you have financial deprivation, you have social amenities deprivation, where people cannot access medical services, where they cannot access clean water, where they cannot actually finance their own day-to-day livelihood. So you are actually redeeming them from social injustice, okay? From social evil. Social injustice is social evil because it is evil that has been meted because of selfishness in the social structure, where those who have, they get more and forget those who do not have, where the national cake is not shared equitably. So in developmental cooperation, we identify two different communication areas. One, institutional, and two, communication for development. So institutional will take the internal communication. The communication for development will actually take the external, because you are bringing in on board the beneficiaries and the stakeholders. So you become participants and partners in development. So how can we distinguish between the two? Institutional communication and communication for development. Institutional communication is where we have the objectives, okay, activities, objectives, and the results of the developmental cooperation. Okay, we make a strategic plan, we make a project proposal, we make a marketing plan to help us envision the future and to envision the outcome through the output that we put to implement. So it is an essential component of an effective institutional image and visibility policy. So an institution whose achievements are known by the stakeholders, the beneficiaries, are recognized by the public, is in a better position to engage in political dialogue and influence development process in the partner country. for instance, GTZ or Irish Aid or US Aid. So if they can communicate what they envision, and because they corroborate the dialogue with the beneficiaries and stakeholders to understand their problem, and then meet solutions in which they could mitigate those problems, those hurdles. Communication for development, in another way, is a tool for social and political transformation. This we have highlighted in the past, and even earlier on has been highlighted. So it promotes participation and social change using methods and instruments of interpersonal communication, community, and the modern information technology. So there's that interpersonal dialogue going on, but also you use social media, you use radio, you use print media, you use television to communicate so that you can impact change. So communication for change is not an add-on, but rather a cross-cutting activity. In project management, aimed at strengthening the dialogue with beneficiaries, partners, and authorities in order to enhance local ownership. Local ownership is very important in the programs. People should feel that they are part of the project. Because if you bring up a project there that have not bought into, when you leave, it will remain a ghost. Well, it will remain what? It will be like just rubrics remaining there. Okay? Because people will not be, they have no feeling, no emotion attached to it. And it does not actually bring in the best of themselves. You just envision that these people suffer from this problem and you want to solve it, but they may not see that as a bigger problem, and so they may not care. But if it's something that touches their emotions, their livelihood, even when you move out, the tools you have left them will empower them to engineer change for themselves. So it's a very important aspect in the for the beneficiaries in the project, and it generates a sustainable impact, okay, which is continuation, posterity. So how do communication for change and the institutional communication differ? Institutional communication aims at building the image of the institution, okay? And it is there to inform the outside world what they are about. And also it's another form of being accountable. You know, if people have invested a lot of taxpayers' money into the project from the European or the donor communities, and they would want those benefactors to have the information and to see where their money is going to. And so it is also it also creates visibility. Okay, that's the same like institutional image, but visibility to be seen that okay, this is what they are doing. Because an institution can exist, but if there is no institutional communication, the outside world, the stakeholders, and the beneficiaries may not know what you have been doing. So from time to time, you have to inform through different forms of media, through different forms of platforms, through dialogue and workshops, so that people know what you have been doing in the past. It also establishes public relations. Public relation is that communication within and without the organization. So social change, in a way, social change, it's social and political incidents of social injustice, political injustice. So in that way, it facilitates the access to information to the stakeholders, the beneficiaries, and the institutions involved, political institutions, communities of interest, like the donor communities or the international community. And in a way, it stimulates participation because all stakeholders participate, the beneficiaries participate. So in that way, it is in a way a process of influencing public policy. So if you have to change laws about certain situation, it is by this participation that you identify the problem and you advise those who are in charge of making policy to amend certain statutory instruments so that it can make provision for a better livelihood of the beneficiaries. So in a way, as we have articulated already, it empowers our people. It gives them the wings like Red Bull. How are they different? Institutional communication focuses on information, products intended for mass dissemination. It is also a vertical form of communication. The vertical form of communication, um, vertical form of communication, uh, which does not allow real dialogue. When I communicate to you through media, like I'm doing now, there's no dialogue because you're not going to respond. But if we had a video conferencing, in that way we could have dialogue because that could be interpersonal communication and also with engagement and feedback. Okay? But for C4D, communication for development, this communication facilitates communication process. It is not as much communication discipline as a task shared. It's a task shared between development specialists and communicators. Okay, it is an horizontal, not vertical, like institutional. It's an horizontal, peer-to-peer, for all form of communication, which promotes dialogue and exchange within projects and programs. Okay? So communication for change, it is not about information, but about emotions, things that touch human needs. It's on the psychographic level, okay? Psychographic, demographic communities that behavior change because behavior is about emotions, okay? And it touches their emotions. So even the way they respond would be different. How I would respond if I'm in the institutional communication.
It's 11 hours.
Okay. So street theater, we can use street theater in this way to communicate. We can use cultural events, cultural dance. We can use public hearing, school context, like debate or quiz. We can use workshops. We can use retreats. We can use conferences. Okay. These have a strong element of excitement and emotional engagement. Okay. Where you leave the beneficiaries to express their own disappointments, their own joys, their own take on the process of development. They convey messages which are taken in through all senses, the five senses. Okay. Key features of communication for development. It's based on dialogue, support social change, and it is sensitive to local culture. Yeah, so as we come to Mandevu to help the let's say the gas victims, we are aware of the emotional and the psychological and the dimension of the people in that area. And so we are very careful even when we want to intervene. Provide an intervention, you say these are key players, let's involve them. Otherwise, if you just top down, then the men might revolt and accuse you of plundering their resources, that their resources are not reaching them. So every time we implement social change, we are actually doing something very important, and we are asking three key questions. Why we ask the same question? What changes do we wish to bring about? So with your partners, the beneficiaries will identify the problem, and then you say, okay, how do they envision their future? So what type of change do we bring in? And we will bring about together with them as partners. And also, do we want to achieve, what do we want to achieve? And why? So in that way, we use certain adjectives into our implementation process or our communication process. So our communication will bear the following adjectives, okay? To persuade, we persuade the beneficiaries, or we persuade the donor communities. We raise awareness to communities, awareness to policymakers, awareness to the immediate environment. We motivate the beneficiaries to take charge of their own lives. We mobilize resources from the rich to help the poor. We educate the beneficiaries the importance of what they are engaged in and the importance for that change that they envision and what we envision. Somehow also, because it is emotional, we entertaining by communicating in a very simpler and easy way that engages their behavioral change. Then we empower, give them the tools, give them the resources, give them the environmental flexibility for them to maneuver and stretch themselves to the best of their ability so that they can be proud of their change, of their new status. You also have to recognize and respect the beneficiaries, not like you are and you are condescending and thinking yourself you are a savior coming to redeem this poor person in a rant, removing them in the rant. But you recognize their importance, you recognize their potential, you recognize their contribution, and you appreciate that. And so you engage in dialogue by debating, exchange of ideas, so that we can come up with the best possible solutions. And also you create change. There should always be a movement from A to B, B to C, C to D. And also you disseminate, that is, you distribute the information of what they have done, reports, and also project proposal, what you want to implement, and also reports by the benefactors and contributors and participants to see what they have done and what they are about to do and what they should do, what they have done right, what they have done wrong, and where they can improve. And then you influence policymakers, influence donor communities, influence key people. You influence actually the very beneficiaries to plow into the project. So that takes about 30 minutes of our class, and I think um, it's well put so that people don't go to slumber, to sleep, but people understand what we're talking about. So I would suggest that after this 25 minutes lecture, the other 25 minutes you listen to it and you create questions, and then through group emails or on WhatsApp, you can ask me questions for explanation. And so I would encourage that most of you will also be ready to participate in this noble and first attempt, so that you can motivate me also to do more of this. And I've already uploaded a PowerPoint on the Mondo. It is highlighted, it is saved as C4D1. C4D1. Okay? And that's where you find most of these ideas I was trying to explain. So PowerPoint notes are there already. And the vocal one is there. So if you are not a person who like reading, you are like listening, I've saved you. And if you're a person who don't like to listen to my beautiful voice, you just want notes, I've put the PowerPoint for you there to read. And also I've given you the book and the material to peruse through. So until next time, it's bye for now.